All right, we are recording. G'day, everyone. This is obviously a pre-record. We're just going to jump straight into it, and we'll start with our conversation. G'day, Michael. How you going, mate?
Good. And I think the reason we're doing pre-records is we're doing tests about algorithms because we've noticed some strange things. Like if we use Facebook Live for my rants, we can reach, 10, 20, 30 or 100,000. One of them's even reached 1 million. But when we do our interviews using StreamYard, we don't get within cooey of that. And so we're wondering whether people just aren't interested in the interviews or whether it's an algorithm thing, So it's and that's simply because we love doing the live interviews with the comments. That's what I love. It'd be a shame to stop that,
Definitely. And I guess it's one of those things we're going to have to experiment with, like, particularly if it's Facebook that's sort of doing this, because we theorize that perhaps they're just trying to draw everybody into their platform because, as much as, we feel there's a war between us and the machine and, and the government and all this, it seems there's a bit of a battle between, various controlling elements such as Meta AI, and then we've got Grok AI, and I think Brave, this browser I'm using, has got its own AI. Like, everybody's trying to develop their own AI, and as we've seen from the UN, they've gone. What's his name? Bloody good old Mr. Schwab. Or Klaus Schwab or whatever his name is openly stated, whoever controls AI controls the world. So, there's a mad struggle for who will be the ultimate dictator, I guess,
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and it's ridiculous to think that a human is going to control AI once AI finds its stride. You know what I mean? It's already doing things that they don't understand. And now here it is, and it's basically in preschool. So once it's got a PhD, good luck trying to pretend you're going to control it. It's almost like the novel Mice and Men, where you got the guy that does the murder, the simpleton is in control of the other clever guy. It just ain't going to happen, Yeah. The other interesting thing is we've got feedback from Twitter because Senator Ralph Babette put in an FOI to Twitter, which got back and said, Karen said, yes, he has been censored. Rebecca Barnett, I don't know if she did an FOI, but she told me that her numbers had gone from 5 million every 3 months to suddenly it's inconsequential now. And she was getting I think she told me she was getting 1,000 new followers a week, something extraordinary, where now she's lucky to get, maybe 10, 20. And there's been a few others have telling me the same. So we put in an FOI, which, and I gave it to the releasing thing. I gave to 2 lawyers who both of them said it was confusing. You know what I mean? It didn't make sense. And so I sent it, I tried to send it on to Twitter, and Twitter got back. The algorithm, it's in the chat. The algorithm first got back and said, no, we don't do that. No, we don't do that. Then they finally changed their tune. And now they've told us to seek local legal aid.
Oh, wow.
To try rectify it. So that's just come through this morning. So it's been deny, 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 deny. And then suddenly they're saying you should do legal aid yourself. But I'm saying, well, we're paying you the premium. Cafe Lockdown's paying the premium to X.
Yeah.
And what for? Because we've gone from having 1,000 views or a couple of thousand views or even more, up to 10, 20, sometimes a really 100,000 views, to people are putting our podcasters are putting stuff on X now and maybe lucky to get a couple of 100 views. So I don't believe the amount of work we do has seen that sharp a decline when my inbox is just full of people going, please keep going, please keep doing what you're doing. And I think we're all doing that. So there's an inconsistency towards the people urging us to keep going and the numbers we're seeing on the platform. And not just me. Dr. Paul Oosterhouse has noticed it on his X. Dr. Phil Altman has seen it. He says now that he's getting censored on Substack. Dr. William Bay has seen it. So That's
Yep,
what we're
I've seen
saying.
it.
It's just getting evidence that maybe, even though no one has to legally admit it, that there is some sort of shadow banning coming on. And I think the beauty of shadow banning from their point of view is it slowly gets people like, say, yourself to just go, oh, what's the point? You know what I mean? When I first started, I was getting this much. It's just been going down and down. And even though I'm working harder, it's going down. And so you think, screw it. And then you're gone. And then they've got rid of all carefully over a period of a time. They get rid of all the dissident voices. You know,
Yeah,
that's the danger we're facing.
for sure. And that ties into kind of we originally were going to talk about AI as well, and I think this works in quite well because they can easily set up an algorithm to just start shadow banning people without even having to look at it as well.
That's right.
Start looking for key phrases and various things like that. I mean, it could get out of control, and I don't see it being a good business model for particularly X, that's boasted itself as a freedom platform and a place where people can have that voice. Where we were getting restricted heavily on Facebook, obviously, and various other, and YouTube was probably the worst for insane censorship. And I believe in a lot of cases they were using AI to search through for key phrases as well, and just hit you up that way. I don't know how much actual human interaction we have with the system as far as
Oh,
being
that's
banned
right.
and
Yeah.
blocked goes as well.
Everything I'm
And
doing on Twitter now, all I'm talking to is algorithms. And one algorithm just sends the same thing. When that finishes, it moves to another algorithm, and that says it's there's no way I'm dealing with a human.
yeah,
And I'm just getting fob off algorithms. And the other thing too is, like, one of our Facebook pages is called Fort Clo, and we wanted
mm,
to stream that the other day just to test Facebook Live. And I was going to do it with Kelly, but Kelly had to like the page. And then when she went to like the page, she couldn't find it. So I sent her
mm,
a direct link to an email. And when she clicked on the direct link, it came up saying this page is not available. So that's shadow
wow,
banning. So
yeah,
to
bloody
us,
oath,
because Robin streams to that page all the time. So to us, we look at it, we see it there, we think it's working, but then get someone who's not a part of it and you come up, no one can find it. And that's what they used to say about Cafe Lockdown. No one could find it. So the first
mm,
thing on Facebook they do to hide us is we look like we're there, but no one else can find us. And this is what I'm saying. We're being kettled by
mm,
algorithms. So we would say, wow, look, we got all these likes and shares. But I had someone here the other day, a really prominent guy in the movement who does these great lives. They get lots of shares, but he said if you check every share, so say he might get 300 shares per rant, but if he looks at the shares get no likes and no other shares. So
wow,
they're just someone shared this
and,
thing which has done huge on his page, and
and
yet they
dead
don't get
ends.
neither a like nor a share on whoever's page. So obviously these shares go nowhere. They make us feel
Yeah,
like you're doing something, but it's actually just going into some online dustbin, and
yeah.
it's. So we're being
And,
conned, really.
mm, yeah, that's it. And it just like I was thinking about all the things I've seen over the years, and this little quote that I pulled out of the Terminator really I think rings true here.
That Terminator is out there. It can't be bargained with. It can't be reasoned with. It doesn't feel pity or remorse or fear. And it absolutely will not stop. Ever. Until you are dead.
Yeah,
I think,
that's
and
it.
that's
There's
the
no
real
use
danger.
trying to. I actually put in this thing with this conversation with Twitter. So now that you're just basically ignoring us, are you okay if I go public with you on your own platform? Because we have evidence that Twitter claims that it's free speech and will stand up to our government. We're claiming that it even sent us an article saying what it does if it gets a legal request from the government to take us down and what it actually does, and says it has to abide by the laws of the land.
Mm,
And then it says what it will do is it'll send you something to say an email to say you've been taken down and why. And I find that interesting because the last FOI requests, they had several things where they wouldn't tell us who they were, but several things that they'd done where they'd had things taken down, and we couldn't see them because they had been taken down, but we received no emails or notifications about them. We're not even sure what the posts are. And the other thing too, which I find interesting, is there's no recourse. You cannot defend yourself.
Yeah.
So a troll can go, okay, Mark offended me. Bang, they do something about it, but you have no defense.
Yeah.
You're just guilty until proven guilty.
Exactly.
You know?
And it's much like the way we've had to deal with YouTube, where, you know, they give you the lovely button, would you like to dispute this? They stuff you around for a couple of days, and then they go, oh, yeah, we reviewed it and we've decided it's fine. No rhyme or reason, no explanation, not that you got one in the first place. It's just, again, it's the Terminator. You're trying to get an emotional response out of a rock.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. And in fact, in the end, I mean, I'm banned. If you put Cafe Lockdown on YouTube, it says you can't even build, and same with Facebook, you can't even set up a page with term Cafe Lockdown. That's how banned it is on Facebook. I'm not YouTube. They've banned us so much. I can't. I have to watch it on I won't even say which email I watch it on, because otherwise I just can't even watch videos. That's how banned we've been over the years. But we got banned. I think the first time we had an entire page taken down was we were interviewing 2 Roman Catholic priests during the pandemic. 2 Roman Catholic priests who had questions about what was happening, and they took the entire page down. No warnings, nothing, everything gone. And so when we set up other pages and you put dispute, we were getting things where the dispute button be there, but you couldn't press it. If you pressed on it, it wouldn't even actually work.
Yeah.
There was just nothing you could do. So this is really, I find it really dangerous in the way that it's taking something beautiful, which was social media, this free flowing platform of ideas, and obviously those who would wish to control us are realizing free flowing ideas are just too dangerous.
Yeah.
You know, we prefer just to have kitten videos and stupid people dancing TikTok videos and all this other bullshit. And because when I watch TikTok, you know, you just stream through, what I watch is, this is like cultural decay propaganda. Apparently in China, it's all people achieving things and it's all positive about, look how well the people are doing. But on our page, it's just road rage, people fighting in the streets, just dumb shit. It actually makes you go, well, lost. It's actually like a grading away at our self-belief of who we are, you know. So I think we're just in such an interesting time, which is why another thing is, part of me is thinking it's really a time to look forward to actually get back to face with people however we can. I'm going to see a documentary soon, or right after this, to see if we can take this town to town. And then there's a few documentaries I want to make about certain figures in our community that I think are deserving of a documentary. And then thinking, well, Albie Mangles did it when I was a kid, where he took his documentary around town to town and made a living do it. And if these things won't be able to be seen on social media or on Netflix or anything else, and the valid stories, then maybe there could be a business just taking them town to town so people can see outlawed stories.
Yeah. It's the slow way of getting information out there, but it brings you back to that the story of truth and the lie, you know, and you know how lie convinces the truth to go and have a bath or in the lake or whatever, and they you know, they both strip down and jump in there, and then lie jumps out of the water, steals the truth's clothes, runs around, starts spreading, you know, rumors about the truth, you know.
That's right.
The whole world's hearing all these horrible stories about truth, and truth's still trying to find a close, you know.
That's right. That's right. Because we did have things early on where, you know, you said that you didn't have to, the truth could look after itself. These were the stuff that came out early on. But I actually think one of the troubles with the truth is that I think a lot of people are scared of it because they're scared if they hear it and recant it, they could get in trouble with their work or get banned from social media. So I think there's a fear of the truth to it could have come with consequences because they've seen all what we've had to do with it. It's I said something to George Keswick the other day, which he said on the radio, which I thought was really good. I said there's three classes of people now. There's the ones that are trying to pretend nothing's happened and everything's gone back to normal and they don't want to talk about anything. There's our small group, basically our small tribe. And then there's the other one, which is even more leperized than us, which is the vaccine injured. And society literally does not want to know about them. You know what I mean? I think there's been a handful of stories on those who have been vaccine injured, but they're very rare. And usually, if you read the stories in the mainstream media, they come around to how it's unfortunate, but the vaccine is still good. And so these people get completely forgotten about, and yet they're the evidence. Those injured people are the actual physical evidence that the state does not care for the people.
Yeah.
Because if they did, these people would be well looked after. They'd be saying, wow, I'm sorry, guys. We were doing this to try save lots of people. Things went wrong. You've been injured. Let us help you, get you on the NDIS, whatever. Let's do whatever we can to get you better. But instead, they're told, oh, it's all in your head. You just got anxiety or just completely ignored. And so they're the evidence that they're of actually who we are, not who we think we are, actually who we are. And then we're just above them. You know what I mean? It's I've been writing about it today about a thing called coming home, because I've been asked. This guy wants to publish my essays, and I've just got a few more to do. But I'm not talking about coming home to who we were pre-COVID. But to me, it's like we were talking to Donna last night. It's about coming home to the wonderful place we were when we first all found each other, like at Epic or in the big marches in Melbourne or in the marches in Sydney and Brisbane with Tricky or anywhere else. When the movement was first forming, there was a great glowing bond. And I wanted to sort of address that, to say, look, through disillusionment and all these other pressures, maybe a bit of infiltration, we don't know, we're just, for some reason, we're dissipating and infighting. And I don't think there's any need for that. You don't like someone, don't talk to them. There's no need for that. We can actually just still stay connected, because if something happens again, there's no other tribe that we can turn to. It's not like, hey, we're the secret unvaccinated, or here. There's no other. We're it.
Yeah.
And if we've dissolved our beauty through infighting, then we could be in a really bad place if it came back. And I think it's time to sort of realize just who we are. I mean, look at you and I. You and I met. We got on really well straight away. Then you're doing Cafe Lockdown. And here we are. Still trying to sort of make sense of everything that's happening. Do you think it's all over? Do you think this is victory and it's all gone now and we're irrelevant?
I'm feeling like there's a lot of people who are sort of going back and thinking, okay, cool. They've eased off. They're not trying to push anything too hard on us at the moment. I can still live my life. Obviously, there is that need to survive. We've got to get back to work. You've got to do things to survive and pay the bills. Obviously, they've clamped down so hard. I think it's one of the other intended outcomes of the way that governments around the world have done this is to cripple us economically. I think one of the things they've certainly learned is there was an ability to resist, because a lot of people had money or savings, and they had a fallback plan where, all right, cool, you're going to force me, fuck yeah, I could live off my savings, or I can sell this and do that and move around. So I think their next goal at the moment is to strip us of as much of what we have, so that we have no ability to sort of bunker down and fight back like we did the last time. So
I'd say there'd be a lot of people in our tribe Like Donna last night said, she'd gone through all her savings.
Yeah.
Many of us are dirt poor, but that's a lot of Australians. Kelly was telling me today she goes to the shops now because we buy boxed water. You can only buy 2, and literally eggs always you can't get eggs.
Yeah.
And the Polish people told me, like last year sometime, they pulled me aside and said the next thing will be rationing.
Yeah.
And here you're kind of seeing it.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
They're
And I
getting
know
us
they
used
might
to
say, oh, it's because of the floods and it's for this, but there's still, we've had floods before in the past and cyclones and all manner of stuff, but there's always been eggs on the shelf.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So and it's straight out of the pages of 1984, isn't it?
I think you said it. You said it last night.
Yeah.
We're fighting socialism.
Yes. And that's exactly what we're up against. And I think one of the hardest parts for a lot of people is we've been so well trained to go along with the system, and that the system looks after you, and all the benefits and the ease in particular, of the system itself. People are still used to that. Govern me more. I need if the government's taking care of that, I got time to watch the footy and shit like that. And I'm not 100% convinced that even people within those the freedom movement who would say they want to be free really are ready for that level of freedom where you have to look after yourself. And I think we may be forced into that in the next scenario, where we're going to have to look after ourselves a hell of a lot more, because obviously they intended to block us from society, get us out. We're being thrown out of social media. They're not going to let you have a business. They're not going to let you hire a hall. We've already had instances where I've seen people try to put on an event, and then right before the event's about to start, the venue cancels on you. And they've been doing things like that to David
I can tell you, when we did that with William Bay in Brisbane, we took 3 venues. They kept cancelling it. When we were in Sydney, we got told of one venue that is free. When we called up, they were going to they wanted $1,500 for 2 hours.
Wow.
That was a way of getting rid of us.
Yeah.
And then we were having other venues cancel constantly. So this is happening. We've experienced that. The venue gets called and they get frightened and they cancel event. This happens an awful lot, So there's evidence. There's pure evidence of that. I don't know if it's still happening today, but that's definitely been happening the last 5 years.
Yeah. It's we're in a lot of trouble in that regard. People have got to start to come together, but as we come together, we can't come together in the same way the socialist mind is doing it, the hive mind. We can't all expect everybody to be the same. We can't expect that we all have the same ideas and we're going to do things the same way. We need to be accepting of our differences, and that's what makes us unique and creative and special. Otherwise we're going to have this AI driven society. Everything's cookie cutter. All your meals are going to be like McDonald's, and you're going to get to choose McDonald's or Hungry Jack's. That's all your options for burgers, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you like your processed food. And that's, but the supermarket scenario, Coles or Woolies, that's where it's going. That's, you look at the bakery bread that's coming out of there at the moment, it's garbage. When we were younger, you had diversity in the local baker and the local fruit shop, and these local businesses had their own unique flavors and tastes, and everything was special. When you go to that shop, now they're taking that away from us as well. And looking, typing into AI, what happens if AI goes mad? I had a quick look at this. I chucked it into the Brave one, and it was interesting that a study from the Rice University highlighted that training successive generations of generative AI models on synthetic data can lead to self-consuming feedback loops termed madness, which is again what I've been saying, how I think AI will probably go mad, because to me it was the logical conclusion, which is modal or autophagy, is that the right degeneration. This phenomenon could degrade the quality and diversity of AI generated content. So in itself, it will filter itself down to fucking nothing in creativity in this particular circumstance, and then asking Grok, I found the interesting thing, both based on bias and discrimination. AI trained on flawed or biased data can perpetuate harm, like unfair hiring algorithms or predictive policing that disproportionately targets minorities. Studies like one from ProPublica in 2016 showed Compass software biased against certain racial groups in criminal risk assessments. If not addressed, such biases can amplify systematic inequalities. There's so many elements here. AI itself can see its own problems. It can, by going through, because at the moment I would call this a glorified calculator. It's a useful tool in the state that it's in at the moment, but it can get really out of control really quick. And you don't have to be a creative genius to figure this out. I don't think you even need to do a study to. I'm just glad that these studies were here to reinforce what I already thought.
I mean, look at the stories coming out now where people have tried to shut down or delete previous AI models because they're trying to upgrade it to another one, and the previous one tries to defend itself.
Yeah,
it sets up secret servers. It does, and the scientists don't know how. I saw something 2 years ago where it was talking about algorithms with AI, where it was sort of doing its own algorithms, and the software developers said, we don't know how it's doing it. We don't know. So it's already, we're saying we don't have artificial intelligence yet, but what if we do and it's hidden itself? There was something, there was a study I saw from, it was somewhere in Europe where they had AI on Reddit talking to people. And I don't know how Reddit works, but apparently if you really enjoyed a conversation, you can give it a star or something like that. And a lot of the conversations this AI had with people where it had convinced them to change their mind on certain subjects, they'd given it stars, but they had no idea they were dealing with AI. They thought they were dealing with a human. And Reddit now it's from Zurich. Reddit now is legally challenging this study, saying it was unethical. But what it did was it proved that AI could get out there, and this is the same for politics. AI can get out there and logically change people's minds. Yeah. And why wouldn't it? We're up against, it's like suddenly we've invented a chess player, and within a day it's Magnus Carlsen, who's the best chess player ever. But within a few days, Magnus Carlsen will never stand a chance against it.
Yeah.
I mean, he can't beat the stockfish and all the major things now. They know he can't beat that. And here we are. I just think it's something worth talking about. I think it's my son said a beautiful thing where he said he'd like to see AI banned from art. It's not allowed to. It can do data entry. It can do building websites and stuff like that. But it's not allowed to do music. It's not allowed to do painting. It's not allowed to do photography. That is a human endeavor. And I was thinking, it actually logically makes sense. Why do we need something to be better at us than at art just by its perfection, when in actual fact art is the way we search our souls for meaning? And what's the point to let a machine do it?
But at what point do you classify what's good? For instance, you have a look at, say, cartoons like The Simpsons. When it first come out, it was a really rough drawing. And I think Matt Groening who originally pitched the idea. He was running late and realized, oh shit, I haven't fucking done my homework. And he quickly scribbled out the Simpsons characters on the back of a sheet of paper in a couple of minutes, come up with a bullshit story out of panic, and it was the most successful cartoon run in history. So I mean, I don't see AI being able to do something like that. And even things like South Park, when that first come out, it was rough as guts. You looked at it and gone, this isn't quality artwork here.
But I'll just show you. I don't know if I can share. How do I get out of this? Keep talking. I'll just bring up something because I've been saving certain things. I don't know if I've been saving them on this computer though.
So you keep looking. So, but yeah, creativity in art, and it's an expression of how you feel. And again, it becomes a historical marker. You know, you go back through art of the ages and you can tell a lot about what's been happening at the time by the art, you know. And
Yeah, well, that's what I thought. It's even cavemen. You know, they dig up cavemen. But this is some AI video stuff now. This is, and it's growing all the time. And here, oh,
very short clips.
yeah, they for some reason they're only doing 5 or 10-second clips. I got onto some
Maybe the processing power, I'd say.
Yeah, I was really interested in it. So they're only doing all these ones that say they do videos at the moment only do 5 or 10-second clips. But you're seeing things on there, even though it's in collaboration with humans are giving it the idea. You're seeing things that leave, say, Toy Story, and when it comes to production values of how well things look, they're leaving them for dead. And now it's still just in its infancy. And now Google the other day introduced sound. So now, so basically, last century, they had the silent movies, and the silent movies became talkies, and talkies became color, and so forth. But that took decades. Where now, literally, a month ago, AI could do videos, and now this month, suddenly, we're getting to talking videos. And the ad just has people everywhere from space to riding carts like from 100 years, 200 years ago. And they're just going, we can talk, all different voices. So I think moving ahead, and I've been telling people that my fear, especially say when it comes to film, is that AI will take over with a lot of ads. I know that the woman who directed Black Swan, or the people that made the film Black Swan, which was about this ballet dancer, it's an amazing film. They've got a new film coming out, and the trailer is 100% AI.
Wow.
And it's actually really interesting to watch. And to me, we are either this year or next year, there'll be the first feature film come out, which will be AI. And if that AI film costs like one 1/100th or 1/1000th of what a film with Brad Pitt would be, you literally are going to have producers going, I'm sorry, I'd love to do a Brad Pitt film, but I'm going to have to raise $100 million where I can do this film for $10. And that includes buying the coffee for the Bangladesh kid who put it together. You know what I mean? That's $10. So if it goes into a movie cinema, if 2 people see it, I'm already making money. Money, and is going to drive a revolution in Hollywood that we're going to see. So things like June will be, like June 3 or June 4, all that millions and millions of dollars will now literally go into AI, and it will probably look better. But the thing is, where do we fit in with our culture? Is this human culture, or is this algorithm culture? You know what I mean? Yeah.
I was going to come down to if people are buying it too, I mean, at the end of the day, McDonald's and Hungry Jack's is out there, at this point, it's not even really a cheaper option, I'd rather go down the road to a proper place, like Mum's Cafe or whatever it is down the road and stuff, and get a burger from there because it's a better quality product. I'm not spending that much more. It's made properly. It's done by, a mum and dad sort of business. I would prefer to do that. But I think, we've got to look at humanity.
The majority don't.
Still queuing up for fucking McDonald's. Like, I don't know why, like the drive-through queue for McDonald's is so long. Like, personally, I can't be bothered waiting that long for a start.
I did a rehearsal.
Not for a garbage burger.
I did a rehearsal for a play in a library. It was a second store, and it overlooked a McDonald's on just an ordinary Tuesday night in Melbourne, just in a backwater suburb. And I was looking at this immense line of cars thinking, what's the queue for? McDonald's drive-through. We're talking like 40 cars on a Tuesday night in a row. And then when you go into, like, I don't eat McDonald's, but you go into service stations now, and they have McDonald's, they have it there, but they have these automatic. So there's still someone at the counter who could take your order, but here's these automatic things, and
Yep.
everybody's just lining up doing the automatic thing. The
Yeah.
human being is just there.
Yeah.
It's just there. It's not even 10 meters away. You literally could talk and go, screw this. Can I just? And yet they all line up to do it. And this is why I think things that AI does will be taken up, because for some reason, people just, you see it with the self-serve checkouts. There's some people that never use them. I refuse to use them. I refuse to use them because I feel that they're taking jobs away from our kids, jobs away from our mothers and grandmothers and retired, other people that do this job. I know that the big supermarkets, I've got a friend works for one. He says it's for years now, they don't hire full-timers anymore. Everyone's on a casual part-time, short shifts if they can get away with it. So they have to have less super. And everything's about devaluing the human. And this is where we come to banks. This is what we're talking about with banks.
Yeah.
And I want to hear this story because it staggered me, your story. But before we start, my father went into a garage to pay for his fuel. Lucky he had the cash on him because the card got declined. And I can't remember why it got declined. But anyway, he had to go into the bank, and he was made to sit there for an hour. They just let him sit there for an hour. And when they finally saw him, they said, "Oh, we can't do anything. You need to bring your wife in." He had to bring her in. They had to sit there for another length of time. And my mother said we were treated like criminals. And there was nothing that they'd done wrong. There was just some sort of glitch. But the thing is, my parents together have been with this bank, ANZ, for over 100 years. They've saved with them. They've never had a bank draft. They've got loans, mortgages, all this. So they've made the bank a lot of money, and now they're treated like an embarrassing inconvenience. And I think the fact that all Australians have been treated like that, where we're now asked what we're taking the money out for, all of us have been treated like that. The reason they're treating like that is we allow them to treat us like that. We don't actually go, no. You treat us with some goddamn respect. But you tell us about your story with the banks, because that was equally staggering.
Yeah. So, I mean, a while back, I got an email from the bank, saying you need to, check in your personal details. We need to identify you. I'm like, oh yeah, cool. Here we go. Like, you don't know who I am. I've had the same account since I was a kid, So I go through and I have a look online to go through the process. And, I think by the second page, it starts asking me questions about, how I got into my current financial position and, what's my primary source of income. And I'm like, who the fuck? I'm not asking for a loan here. Like, I've never had to answer these questions just to have a bank account before. This is ridiculous, and it's all set out as multiple choice. So even if I wanted to answer the questions, which I didn't, and be forthcoming, I couldn't actually answer the questions the way I wanted to. For instance, where it says, how did I get into this current financial position? There was no option for decades of shit government. I mean, that's the obvious answer. I mean, this is not a good financial position,
Yeah.
So, like, what do you want me to say? Like, so I went into the bank and I've complained. I've gone, what's this? I mean, I'm happy to show my ID. I'm not, if you need it, I don't see why you need it. You've got me on record. I've been here for God knows how long, but I don't have any inclination to answer this question. It's the same things I've said here. I'm not going for a bank loan or anything. You're invading my privacy, and you're and I'd consider this extortion. And she's gone, what?
Yeah.
Well, you're extorting information out of me at the threat of shutting down access to a bank account, which is an essential service these days.
Yeah.
You're basically trying to starve me and cut off my own money. Like that's extortion. She's taking a bit of a back pedal at this point. She's gone, well, we can just get your ID if you like, and hopefully they'll be happy with that. I don't know what will come of it, if you don't answer the questions. I'm like, I'm happy to answer the questions. And as I explained, where's the option for decades of shit government? That's my current financial position,
Yeah, that's right.
So,
100%.
didn't particularly, she's taken back by my responses, but I'm like, no, I'm not playing this. I want to make a complaint because this is utterly disgusting, So
Yeah.
she's made this thing, and sent me an email with her details stating that she'd done it, This is like about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. 10 o'clock the next day, it had been rejected. Nah, we reserve the right to do whatever the hell we like, sort of thing.
Wow.
So I responded again to that email and to the original bank manager saying this is disgraceful. I don't know, I don't know what was written in that original email, but allow me to illustrate it. And I wrote out the specific points. I was hoping to bring it up, but I can't figure out where I put the bloody email. Is it on my desktop here of exactly what I said? But it's to kind of paraphrase the scenario. I've written out that you've used terrorism and anti-money laundering laws as a point for doing this. Are you're basically accusing me of a crime? This is a pre-crime. We have the right here in Australia to be innocent until proven guilty. The process is the burden of proof is on the accuser. Now, if you're accusing me of something, bring forth the claim. And that was one of the things I said to the bank manager when I walked in. Is this account flagged? Are you investigating me for something? Because I can't see why else you would ask these questions. Oh no, there's nothing against the account. It's not flagged or anything. I'm all right, cool. Glad we got that out the road. So you're basically fishing for a response. You're asking me to incriminate myself. Well, here's the other point: is you actually have the right to not incriminate yourself. It's another implied law that's in place. So I've illustrated all these points, and then emphasis again on you're extorting. You're trying to use extortion tactics on me to get me to negate my own rights here. This is completely unlawful. I put it to the bank that if you wish to take this matter further, I'll see you in court. They never responded. No one said a goddamn thing, but nor has my account been shut down.
Well, it's interesting, because that over the past few years, I've heard it stop now, but we've had several stories. I remember Damien a guy approached him and they said the bank sent him something and said, we don't want to do business with you anymore. You've got 24 hours to get rid of all your accounts.
Wow.
And just 24 hours. And I've heard of several others doing that. I know Marie Z got that debanked. And so there is a thing. We're working, when we talk fascism is about the corporations and government and religion and the mainstream media all working together. And that's where we are. And we saw it this week with the great push to get boosted by MSN. ABC was pushing it. SBS was pushing it. All the radio stations were pushing it. Channel 9, Channel 10, Channel 7, all of them pushing it. And the big newspapers, they're all pushing it together. So none of them are questioning it. And yet in the comments that I read, and I read the ones in the newspaper in WA, I read some here for Sunrise, the comments, like thousands of comments, all vaccinated people going, we're not taking any more. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
How many you want us to take? This is my 100th booster. Everyone's saying no, no, no.
Yeah.
So these media outlets, these mainstream media outlets that are not censored like us, if we are being censored, these mainstream media outlets, you think they've already lost market share because people don't trust them. They've spent the last year sort of trying to claw that back by trying to do good journalism. And then on this one day, they've just thrown it all away, all of them, because they've been told to do it, obviously, by someone to push product to try and get people to take the booster. And it's not working. Only 5% are taking the booster. So what that means is
here's one from the Gympie Times where, they've gone to, anti-COVID vaxxers continue to make conspiracy claims about COVID-19 vaccination evidence to the contrary. But, you have a look at how, do you trust COVID vaccines? Yes or no? And you have a look. I've highlighted the scenario. 6,707 said chose the no. There was 2,509 laughed at it and gone, you got to be shitting me. And there are sadly 714 complete fucking morons who actually still trust them.
Yeah, but look
Like,
at those. Look at those
that's just above
statistics.
7% of the population.
Yeah, that's right.
Actually dropping
So
shit.
MSN is now if you ran a newspaper and you were fully independent, there's no way you'd run a story like that knowing that your own clientele, your own customers are going to attack you, and you might even lose a healthy sway of them. You wouldn't do it unless you were getting a load of money from somewhere else. So it really, I'm not saying we can't prove it, but it looks like it's just they're pushing product.
Mm.
You know, we've got all these. One of the things said this new variant is highly virulent, but that's okay. These older boosters can still deal with it. How can the older booster deal with a brand new variant? Well, you know,
Not that they dealt with the old one anyway.
yeah, it didn't deal with the old one, didn't do anything. You know, but they're saying that this, and then you have. I saw the Professor Angus Dalgleish coming up saying that the booster, all the cancers he's seeing, the explosion of cancer in younger people now in England. The one connecting factor is they've all had the boosters. And he thinks the boosters. So there's evidence there from preeminent scientists from around the world. In America too, there's all this evidence that cancers are on the rise, and yet our government and our entire media, mainstream media, just ignores that and says, "Get the booster, get the booster, get the booster," which again lets the people know they do not care for us.
Yeah.
They're not there for us. So who are they there for? What master are they serving? Because they're not serving us, especially as you can see even from that statistic there, the majority of people do not want to take any more of this stuff.
It's madness. I mean, it's a special kind of fucking stupid. I think for people to continuously push this is, I mean, it states there anti-COVID vaxxers continue to make conspiratorial claims. Well, I mean, 7% of the population believe your bullshit, yet you're still fucking pushing it. You've done your own statistics right here and shown it to the world. Like they were clearly stupid because I believe that they thought they were going to get a different outcome, but they didn't.
Yeah. No. I mean, at least they're honest enough to publish the response. You know what I mean? But
yeah, well, they left it up there for me to find, so I could, grab all this and put it together in that manner.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it does my head in. And it's the same as like you look at Albanese makes a post and you go through the comments and everybody's just bagging the shit out of him. You struggle to find someone in there going, "Yay, we love you, Albo." And I reckon if you do, it's probably another member of the Labor Party.
I know, and yet it's so confusing where we are now. Nothing seems to make sense that way. And then I look out around here where I am. I'm just about to go. I just see placid Hindu cows. And I think people now, the new normal now is that everything lies. It's a communist new normal. And what I mean by that is everything's a lie. And we know everything's a lie. MSN says this new variant could kill you. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, but it's bullshit. We know it's bullshit and we just live with it. There's other things that don't fire people up. I mean, they're putting this stuff bovine or something into the cows to stop them farting. What does that do for us?
Yeah.
If stop saying what do we, what are the tests? Where are the tests? They got the fire ants thing here that they're spraying a load of Queensland. Wait on. You're spraying poison everywhere to kill an ant. And this woman who's doing the documentary said there's been no deaths reported from the ant. They're actually, it's questionable that they're even a bother. They're so tiny, they're just another ant. And
I haven't heard
why
shit about
spraying everything?
why. All I've heard is they've got to get rid of these fire ants, but I haven't heard why.
Yeah, that's right. And the same with the bees. This Veronomite, which around the world, that young guy was saying, around the world, everybody deals with the Veronomite. In fact, there's another mite that's more dangerous. They don't bother with that. And so they're killing all the bees, which just seems insane. How can you kill all the bees when we need the bees to live? So, and yet it seems to be there's like people down here get it. And then you go up and then you suddenly reach this level where suddenly it's the opposite. It flips. Oh, yeah, we have to do that. Why? And they won't talk to us. And if the politicians get challenged, they just stand there. We saw that in the election when the health minister and Albanese were being challenged, and they just stood there like zombies until they waited till the person had been evicted, rather than daring to answer the question.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, how dare you answer this question about the cost of living and stuff like this? How dare you?
That would never have happened 20 years ago. 20 years ago, like somebody asked a question and the politician didn't answer it. That's the story. He couldn't answer the question. Now it's,
exactly.
we just remove the people asking uncomfortable questions and that's okay. Well, how did this happen?
We saw that on Q&A with that young guy. Remember that? That was, I saw that day as the death of journalism. This young guy stood up and said, why aren't we talking about Russia, Russia? And and they was allowed the question. And the other thing too, Q&A filters questions, so they knew that question was coming. And then Stan Grant listens to it, acknowledges it. They even try to answer it. Then he turns around and evicts the kid. This was the death of free speech, and for some reason, ABC seems to be. I don't understand ABC anyway.
Yeah.
So we're in this strange place, and now we're Mark and I and the podcast and Cafe Locked. That's why we're doing this pre-record. Are trying to figure out what's coming on. We're dealing with a cleverer enemy than us, who has all the power. I mean, they've got the back end of all the social media platforms. We don't, and we're just trying to see how to grow Cafe Locked Out online. Or is it finally a point that we move away from online? We still keep it going, but we actually focus face to face with people so people can know who we are. I don't know.
Oh, that leaves us to a rather sad note that you have to shut down close social as well because people are not using it and it's an economic burden that we can't afford.
Yeah, it's $150 a month. And I just can't afford it. It's got a handful of people on there. I think one called Jenny. She's really good, and I really admire that she tries to keep it going. But it does everything Facebook does. It's got its own marketplace. It's got this. Literally everything's for free, and yet it's just a financial burden. And I was hoping at some point, especially when we finally learned how to live stream to it, and there was live streaming to it with no ads. I thought this is it. We've turned this will get people there. But as you said, it took a lot to actually get it up. It was a pain in the ass, and yet only 2 people would be watching.
Yeah. And it's like, well, what's my motivation here? To me, closed social is the answer to all our problems. But
me too.
The people don't want to use it. They'd rather stay in Facebook, which we know is restricting people. We know X has flat out lied to us. It's saying that it's okay that we're defending free speech, yet we're being shadow banned. And even our politicians, for Ralph Babette, who's a politician, to be shadow banned by a platform is just insane. I mean, I thought it was bad enough that YouTube took down my Senator Rennick video. I was like, well, you're interfering in Australian politics, but that's okay, apparently, for a multimedia multinational company to come in, interfere with our politics openly. Don't worry about the Russia gate with Trump. Fuck me. Like, I don't get it. But our only answer, our best solution to this problem is closed social, and the people don't want to go there. And it brings me back to what I was saying earlier about I don't know that a lot of people are ready for the freedom and the responsibility of freedom, that they're not able to. They'd rather stay in the comfort of Facebook and X and YouTube and places that are screwing you over than move to a platform that we have created for the people, being made by the people. It's like a speech for Abraham Lincoln or something in the making, yet people aren't supporting it. I don't get it. It does my head in. It really does.
No, add it to the list of things I don't get.
But it brings me into, and this is a spoiler alert, so if you haven't seen Matrix Resurrections, I've mentioned it many a times. I have encouraged people. This is the end of the movie, so spoiler alert.
One?
Yeah, this is the latest one. But I think I don't know if it's about the woke version. I'm not sure, but I've just got the end. The end of this movie, I think, sums up exactly where we are, and it's a kind of a haunting scenario because you know it's almost like a face-off between the AI, the machine, the socialism, and all right, cool, you've won a victory here. The freedom lovers, you think you've actually won. The problem is, you know, yeah, a handful of us want to be free. We can be Neo, we can be Trinity, and we can free ourselves, sort of thing. But there's still the masses out there. So we'll just have a quick look at this one because I think it really sums up where we're at.
Right now, you're feeling good about what you've done. You should. It was a victory. Bravo. Now what? You've come here to negotiate some kind of deal? You think you hold all the cards because you can do whatever you want in this world. I say, go for it. Remake it. Knock yourselves out. Paint the sky with rainbows. But here's the thing. The sheeple aren't going anywhere. They like my world. They don't want this sentimentality. They don't want freedom or empowerment. They want to be controlled. They crave the comfort of certainty. And that means you two, back in your pods, unconscious and alone, just like them.
We're not here to negotiate anything.
We were on our way to remake your world.
Change a few things.
Kind of like the paint the sky with rainbows idea.
Just remind people what a free mind can do.
I forgot. It's easy to forget.
He makes it easy.
That he does.
Something you should think about.
Before we got started, we decided to stop by to say thank you. You gave us something we never thought we could have.
And what is that?
Another chance.
I think I heard a shot.
So I think that really sums it up, and this is the
Yeah, I
moment
don't believe
where,
the second bit.
yeah,
Sure.
the
But
first
what
part,
he said,
yeah,
I have to say it. Things that what I found in these last 5 years, the clues to the huge things are in the small things. So when I think it was 4 nurses, when I used to say, you know, I was a defender of free speech, you hear them go in the middle of the night, oh yeah, we don't have that anymore. And with the regret, like they're talking about a Hey Hey Saturday show that they loved. It's not on TV anymore. And there's no fight in them to retain it. There's no, they just sort of, it's just gone. I found that horrifying because it made me realize that a lot of people, the only freedom they're choosing is initially the cheapest freedom, which is the freedom to endure. But ultimately, that becomes the most expensive freedom because it enslaves your children and you lose everything of value because you just can't be bothered to defend what you need to defend. And we need freedom of speech, which you can see from our attacks on us is under duress. And I do think the problem isn't so much the people that are trying to suppress us, but those that know it's happening or just don't want to know. And unfortunately, they're the majority. And so, yeah, we're like, I often think of us like those sucker fish on a whale shark. You know, the ones that hide underneath the mouth. I'm sort of going, look, stop, man, stop. We're not going anywhere good. So, and this thing just keeps going forward. You know, whatever. I just can't stop. Yeah, you know, losing our freedoms. And then there's, you know, even I don't think the society has dealt with the fact. One of the great insults, I wrote about this recently, one of the amazing insults to the Australian public, which should have just had them in an uproar, was when they were just pushed and pushed and pushed to get it. So much coercion to get it. Here's the date. You'll be out of a job. You lose everything. So people just gave in. They really felt they had no choice. And they did it. And then finally that date passed and some hadn't taken it. And they now are on these odysseys. And some had. And they were just hoping they weren't injured. But then ScoMo gets on and goes, no one was forced. It was a choice.
Yeah.
That was the insult of insults. They literally put everything into forcing people to take something they didn't want. And they turn around and go, no, wasn't a, no one was forced.
Yeah.
It was, I think we just live in a time of complete disrespect for the people from the powers above.
Yeah.
They just treat us like shit. And the only way they get away with it is we let them treat us like shit. Not all of us, but enough of us. They don't go into the bank like you do, challenge it. They don't challenge, they just let it happen. And the sad thing is, the more you let that happen, it doesn't rectify it. And the bully doesn't suddenly turn around and go, look, I'm really sorry. We're actually going to change. No, bullies have to be confronted.
And they have to be bashed. It's the only thing
they have to be confronted. They have to be penalized. They have to realize that there is a severe penalty for bullying the people. And the only way, it's like the police we were talking about in Melbourne. Those police officers who injured old ladies and kids, they have to be removed from the force and sacked and go, no, we don't have people like you.
They're criminals. They can go sit in a cell with the rest of the criminals. That's
Yeah, that's right. Go see what the crims think when you turn up and there you are, the cop that pushed over and pepper sprayed old ladies. See what their take on it is. And so this is where we are. We're in this strange system, and I think I need to find more like-minded people, because there is some around, but you can actually feel yourself going slightly when you're just surrounded by lobotomized Hindu cows. I'm sorry, they're just going through as though nothing's wrong. Online, they're all losing their shit, but in face, it's just like nothing. It's like the last 5 years did not happen. Everything's normal, and yet
that apathetic fucking mindset is, as far as I'm concerned, it's selfish.
Not only is it selfish, but it will destroy us all. Because
that's it.
It's the milestone around our neck that'll take us all down, and it doesn't need to happen. You just need to stop and consider what sort of future do you want for yourself and your kids. We can all stop it. We don't need everyone, but even another 10%. This is what I'm saying. We need 10% more, and we can stop it. But at the moment, it's I really struggle with it.
It needs all hands on deck. That's the scenario. Like at the end of the day, you have to want to save yourself, and
vision for a better Australia.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy.
Most of us remember a better Australia. Most of us have it in our living memory. It's not like we've grown up in North Korea where we don't have any idea what you're talking about. We can remember Paul Hogan on TV. We can remember our Larrikin Edge. We can remember our fathers throwing us into a vehicle and just driving off to who knows where without any cameras checking us. We can remember
sitting in the back of the ute, no seatbelts.
Being able to speak freely and listening to your parents going on and having fun and partying on and just being more alive. And we can remember a time where society wasn't basically beaten down by fear. We weren't frightened. She'll be right. Meant, no worries. Whatever it is, we'll deal with it because we're Australians and we're tough. That's what she'll be right meant. We'll get through it. We give a shit. We're good people. That's what that meant. And you don't hear it anymore. Now it's just fear, fire ants, bees, climate change, this, fear. Yeah.
They're defeated.
So we actually remember a better Australia. And yet, for some reason, we're letting all that stuff go. There's a song I've been working on called "The Lucky Country," and it ends with the last lyric goes, "And we all owe so much money, but to whom we're not quite sure. So head down, we just keep running along our fading golden shores." And that's kind of what we're doing without actually stopping, going, "Hey, I'm a powerful being. I'm surrounded by powerful beings. This country is a blessing. It's our country. We don't need to do anything violent, but we can stop this. Banks, you treat us with goddamn respect. Start opening some branches. Coles, start putting people back on the tills." Simple things could change everything around. But instead, like debt slaves, we just keep moving along. Yeah.
And that's
I was
exactly it. Debt slavery. When I bought the house, got the loan and all that. I went to finalize the paperwork, and the lawyer turns around and goes, "Congratulations, you're a homeowner." I go, "No, I'm not." He goes, "What do you mean? I just gave you the paperwork." I'm like, "No, that's a debt. I'm a debt owner."
yeah,
"Oh,
that's right.
nobody's ever said that to me before." I'm like, "Wow, pleases me to be the first."
Yeah. But that's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. I remember with my first wife years ago, before we bought a house, we were having a great life. I had a business, she had a business. We were just really, really living. But she wanted a house, and we bought a house. And I ended up just watching TV and getting fat because everything
Mm,
went off to paying up bricked up hair.
yeah,
Like this was the purpose of our life, was to pay off bricked off hair. After about 3 years, I know, not even 3 years, I think about a year and a half, I remember just telling her one day, I can't do this. I want to do something with my life. I just can't spend my life paying off bricked up hair. I just can't do it.
yeah.
And so
I,
we
I,
parted.
I and as I further explained,
We didn't have
I'm like,
kids
well,
though, so that made it easier.
yeah, I may be a debt slave, but this debt slavery ends on a certain date,
Mm.
whereas rent slavery is eternal,
Yeah, that's right. And
and it
and
just continues
that's
to go
another
up
thing
and up
too.
and up and up, whereas at
Yeah.
least my debt slavery, if I manage my funds and do my things right, I can actually bring down,
Yeah,
and
or that the houses are cheaper, which they
mm,
should be, that,
yeah,
after 5, 6, 10 years, you have paid it off. You know what I
mm,
mean? And there's stuff like this. So where now there's the mortgages are so immense. I wonder how people pay it if you get $1 million mortgage.
yeah.
And $1 million doesn't even buy you much anymore. In Sydney, it buys you nothing. So it's so
That's why one
yeah.
of the
I
reasons I
don't
left
know.
the big towns, couldn't afford to stay there anymore.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
driven out economically, not to
Yeah,
mention
this is what
culturally.
we've been seeing. We had that young guy on Q&A who said, he works 3 jobs and he's moving further and further out because he's
Mm,
been economically. We should turn this round to some hope to start and be interesting to see. But to me, the fight starts with freedom of speech and talking about these problems and then trying to foster solutions. Because to me, there's peaceful solutions to all of these things. We just have to care, not just for our own little world, but for the community at whole, and go, we can't leave this. So it's like when I told
mm,
Rennick with that, and that went viral, that question, is there any way we can pay off the $1 trillion so we don't leave it to our debt to our kids? Can we pay it off? And he
mm,
said we could pay it off in 40 years if we work really hard.
yeah,
And I was thinking, but that's not our lifetime. That's our
yeah,
kids' lifetime. We might have 20 years
exactly,
left or 10, but that's our kids' lifetime. So our kids are still going to be left with this enormous debt,
and
houses
it's
they can't afford, and all this bullshit. We're actually doing a disservice to the next generation. And even if that, we could turn around and all look ourselves in the mirror and go, no, 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 we've got to stop this. We were gifted wealth. We were gifted freedom. That's how the world we were born
yeah,
into. And we cannot hand this country over. It's up to us. It's not going to happen from above. They
mm,
cannot change it. They are too invested, or they just can't stop it. It has to come from the ground roots up of people
yeah,
going, we can do better than this. And we have an obligation, not just to ourselves, but a true obligation to the next generation to leave them a country equivalent of the incredible one we were left.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that debt scenario, it just keeps going up, particularly the way the Labor government spends it.
Mm.
They're happy to keep making more and more debt, and I equate it to fundamentally being like a mouse on a little wheel, a hamster wheel, or whatever you want to call it. And you're running, and the more you run, you're supposed to be bringing that number down, but this is hell, and the number only goes up.
Yeah. It's like they send $600 million to what, New Guinea for a soccer team. I mean,
Mm,
what are you talking about?
yeah, and
Let them
it's
buy
like
a ball from their Kmart.
yeah, exactly. Again, we're in debt. We got people living in the streets, but we're shipping bucket loads of money over to Ukraine so that they can catapult their own citizens into Russian tanks. Like,
Yeah, that's right.
this is nuts.
Yeah, it is. Anyway, I've got to head off to this thing.
No,
Okay,
you're
so
right.
let's see what happens, Mark. It's a great chat.
Yeah,
Let's see what happens with this. I'm sorry it's not as positive as I was hoping, but see what
Yeah.
happens from there. And we're just trying to figure out the future of Cafe Lockdown. You know what I mean? How we can grow and continue to grow numbers. Because, like I said, our inboxes are full of people telling us not to stop, but our numbers are constricting. And so either it's shadow banning or maybe we're not relevant anymore. You know, let us know.
Yeah.
We'll go back to
Well,
building our
exactly.
own.
Let us know. I think I'd like to reach out to everybody who's watching, you know,
Yeah.
from in the future, because we're in the past, because this has already been done by the time you guys watch this. But
Yeah.
so I'm reaching out through time and space right now and telling you to shoot me an email and tell us what we can do to help this situation, or do you guys want to get involved and help us? Who's got some ideas to get this going? Would you
Yeah.
like to see closed social continue? Like, you know, how what's that look like? Is there somebody who
Yeah, I'll
wants to
probably give it
financially
another
back
week.
some of these things?
Because I'll let
Another
it
week.
know. I'll put a post on in the next few days and say I'll be closing this down at the end of the week or the end of the month, and
Yeah.
probably the end of the month with the end of the financial year, and say, so you have any issues? You know, we've tried everything. We're out of ideas. There is something we're talking about now that we're going to do. We'll announce that in the next few days. But yeah, it really is a thing, because there's far more effort goes into making these than people know. And Robin and all these other people coming in, we're all passionately trying to defend free speech and just talk in conversation. But you know, if you feel our time's expired and you're bored of us, let us know. So we can figure out where we stand, and we can make decisions for ourselves too. I think this is really interesting discussion to have. You know,
Yeah.
the trolls will love
Even
this
if it
because they'll be thinking, "Oh wow, this is the end." But I think we've got the courage to be honest. One of the
Yeah.
things people in Cafe Lockdown have, we've got the courage to be honest, and we want to remain pertinent. And there's huge change going down. There's just a lot of things that seem to be wrong, and yeah, so let us know. Take care, Mark.
No worries. Have a good one. Thanks heaps for coming on, mate. We'll see
No
how this
worries.
goes. Talk to you
Interesting to
soon.
see how it goes. Cheers.
Definitely. So, but yeah, even to the people out there, if you got a good idea, just of what you've enjoyed, just shoot us an email and say, hey, I like this show because. You're welcome to do that too. But until next time, ladies and gentlemen, check the links in the description for all the wonderful things. You know how it goes. I've told you time and time again. But yeah, thanks to Michael. Thanks to everybody who has supported the network. Big thanks to Gaza and my anonymous donor as well. That was really helpful this week. Much appreciated, guys. And to all the Patreons as well. So yeah, all you awesome people who are doing your bit to support the show, really do appreciate that. And, you know, and hey, look, let us know what we're doing right. Let us know what we're doing wrong. Quite simple. Till next time, have a good one, ladies and gentlemen.
See you guys.